Hello, hello! I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. Mile 17. You are 2/3 of the way through the marathon, and the finish line is something you can conceptualize grasping and achieving. It is only 10 miles away after all, and then you realize that it still is the better part of 10 miles away. Your suspension of disbelief and hopes melt to nothing. Today is about writing to prevent that moment of disillusion for readers. When pulled off correctly, readers willingly accept impossible situations, inconsistencies, and contrived encounters which occur because of plot reasons. These are 5 ways to write stories without causing the readers to put the book down shouting, "Well, that's absurd." Number 1. Be consistent. Establish how the magic within your world works and have it act in a predictable manner every time. Characters firing concussive blasts from their eyes should in general fire with the same amount of force, unless they're getting tired or burning out their powers. They shouldn't struggle to knock over a soda can in one scene and in the next be blasting cars aside, unless there's some kind of explanation where they're only using a fraction of their powers for training. Someone who spits acid to burn a hole through a wall would break consistency if later on they sprayed water from their mouth to put out a fire. Creative ways to expand established abilities are obviously encouraged. For example, that character could use their acid spit to collapse the ceiling and smother the fire. Power creep increases the character's abilities, either by giving them a boost or new abilities altogether. However, a magic system's limitations or how characters bend the rules to achieve their goals is much more interesting than new magic solving other problems. Use this consistency and predictable nature within the story's magic to keep readers interested by subverting rules rather than breaking them. A bad example of power creep is Superman's power set. He started off by basically being able to jump really high and be super strong. Now he flies, shoots lasers from his eyes, has freeze breath, can rewind time, just to name a few of his vast powers. That long list of powers make the average Superman story a snooze fest. Skilled writers can bring in new threats, usually by nullifying his powers or having him fight someone like Doomsday so Superman's opponent is on an even level. For those who are not watching the CW's Superman and Lois show, you should give it a try as it is capture my interest because none of Superman's powers can save his family or midlife crisis. Watching the most powerful man in the universe struggle to connect to his teenage sons or save his rural hometown is a side of Superman I have never seen before. Consistency also applies to the characters. Ensure they act in a way which makes sense and doesn't conflict with their established traits. The character continually defined as being heroic and brave shouldn't run from a fight without a legitimate reason. Be careful when foreshadowing major events. Writers are often too subtle in hinting at upcoming struggles or the solution to a character's problems, leading to readers being caught off guard. In the worst cases, readers revolt against the writer's intention for what seems like a sudden twist. Number 2, the one exception rule. Every story gets one free pass. This can apply to the magic, characters, or setting. Anything beyond that should be viewed as a monetary transaction wherein the writer needs to deposit solid character development or interesting plot events in order to withdraw due to a new impossible scenario. For example, the X-Men Cyclops doesn't work. His abilities have been shown to fire force from his eyes. That is his one exception. He's used this to blast aside objects as large as asteroids, and that's where the physics breaks down. Unless he has some kind of secondary mutation of a really strong neck and is wearing magic boots to hold him in place, he should have been acted on with an equal force, throwing him backwards. Yes, these are imaginary stories of people in unbelievable situations, but stories are made better when there's some sense of realism to them. This is why fantasy and science fiction authors use experts to apply the conservation of mass to bodily transformations or accurately depict how one might survive on Mars without a sufficient atmosphere. Without grounded realism, anything can happen, removing all sense of built-up tension by seemingly waving a magic wand to solve the hero's problems. This is why Deus Ex Machinas feel like random, unearned solutions to a problem the writer was too lazy to solve, unveiling a new and never foreshadowed twist at the last possible second to allow the hero to win is boring and defies readers' expectations in a bad way. Number 3, make it fun. This is also known as the rule of cool, which grants Cyclops and the other X-Men more than just their one free pass. Their stories are too much fun to care about the laws of physics or how often self-defined rules within the X universe get broken. Since an early age, I realized I overlooked obvious errors and plot holes so long as I cared about the characters. Case in point, the Diadem series. The series expanded my childhood mind, and through it I learned to love reading. Diadem is right up there with the Young Jedi Knights, Animorphs, Goosebumps, and Redwall as the reasons why I went to the bookstore and library every month, or sooner. I eagerly awaited to discover what happened to the characters in Diadem, as it felt like they were growing alongside me. Looking at now, the main character arcs are predictable. The uptight warrior princess learns to relax, the street orphan learns to trust others, and the kid who grew up in virtual reality learns to interact with real people. In terms of glaring inconsistencies, the spell to create fire changed across the novels for no apparent reason other than editing mistakes. During the second book, the main characters were given gems to enhance their magic. Over the remaining course of the series, the gems they actually used changed to address the problem they were facing at the time, rather than be consistent with the gems they were actually given. While I've laughed at these mistakes with my friends, we didn't give a shit. The books were too damn enthralling. The series was a multi-planet spanning adventure involving wizards and witches, dragons, unicorns, and other magical creatures. Yet it felt grounded in characters I liked. There was even a battle which devolved into a food fight against goblins. The characters were having fun, and I was having too much fun reading the series to care about its inconsistencies. My tastes have matured, but I continue to overlook numerous contrived situations so long as the story is a fun romp. Number 4, as Biggie Smalls taught me, more power, more problems. Congratulations! Your characters have leveled up thanks to power creep. Unfortunately, so have the threats and stakes. Nothing should come for free, so counteract any new power with a downside. Show your readers your characters' new struggles to offset anything which might disrupt their suspension of disbelief. With their dying breath, the villain has revealed the hero's true identity to their master. Even with the hero's newly obtained upgrades, they face a greater struggle, as those they love and the city they live in hang in the balance. And lastly, number 5, humanize the story. Create characters people can empathize with, who deal with the same issues we do in our day-to-day lives. No one wants to read a Superman story where he breezes through all of his opponents as he simultaneously writes a new article for his job as the city praises his efforts. That has no worthwhile conflict. Conflict is the reason I like Peter Parker stories so much. He fails at being both the human Peter Parker and superhero Spider-Man. Sure, he defeated Doc Ock, but J. Jonah Jameson has riled the city of New York against him due to the collateral damage the fight caused. Peter Parker's relationships all fail due to his responsibilities as Spider-Man, and it took Freaky Friday levels of brain swapping with Doc Ock in order for him to earn his doctorate degree, despite decades of breakthrough technologies as a scientist. Of all the superheroes, Peter Parker's struggles feel the most human, and that's why he's my favorite to read about. His humanity has made it so I never think of his stories as unreasonably unbelievable, despite the fact that he's a grown man in tights swinging through the skies of New York. He has routinely crossed dimensions, he has died, he has become an actual spider. And don't even get me started on his clone saga or that deal with Mephisto to undo his marriage. The emotional pull I feel towards any Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse makes it so that I'm always ready to read, watch, or play through their stories. Those are my 5 steps to write the impossible without getting readers to roll their eyes, and instead get them emotionally invested. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in another episode of Writing to Write. What is the most unbelievable event within a story you willingly ignored? What is the one ask by a writer that went too far and ruined a story for you? If you enjoyed this episode, then give it a like, and please subscribe to the channel. Join the Writing to Write community on Facebook, Twitter, and all social media to share your thoughts. See you next time. Until then, create those impossible magical realms, or an interstellar cruise adventure where the ship slowly gets trapped in a black hole.